Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode on Front Row. We're pleased to have in conversation Takafumi Kadono, who is the country resident representative for the Asian Development Bank here in Sri Lanka, to have an insightful conversation. Welcome, Taka, to the show.
Thank you, Sharon.
So we've seen in 2024, 23 years of stability coming off after years of contraction. We've completed an external debt restructuring. We've also seen the continuity of the IMF program under the new government, and the government is also looking at various sector policies as well. Taking all this into account, where does Asian Development Bank or ADB see the outlook for growth for 2025?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as you have already summarized, I think 2024 was a very good year, a year where the economy has rebounded from the depth of the economic crisis in the previous years. So we want to commend the government, central bank, and all the actors who made this happen. In 2025, we do believe that economic growth will continue. We do not have a GDP forecasts yet. It'll be coming out in end of February or March, so I can't give you any numbers. But we do expect that the growth will continue, and we are hoping that private consumption will pick up as well. On the fiscal side, there's an ambitious target of 51%, but we believe that the government will work towards that too. In terms of currency, we may see a depreciation as the vehicle import resumes and some interest payment resume as well. But overall, I think there will be a robust growth trajectory in 2025. However, this is assuming that the reform efforts continue and the hard-won gains should not be lost. So, like you said, Shiran, we do see when the new administration came in, we saw this continuity so far, but that effort, the momentum needs to continue. And at ADB, we are very happy to continue to work with the new administration in supporting the progressing these reforms forward.
When we look at the overall ADB role in this recovery, it's a big role. Oftentimes we talk about the IMF kind of being the anchor to get towards macro stability, but the real reform and growth agenda gets supported by multilaterals such as yourself. ADB's got involved in the last few years with a lot of policy programs tied to certain reform measures as well. And now you all are looking ahead and looking at certain sector reforms as well. And maybe our viewers are very interested to understand what are these sectors. Specifically, maybe some of them are in these sectors. And why is ADB very positive on these sectors in terms of driving Sri Lanka's growth agenda?
Okay, yeah, great. As you may know, ADB approved its country partnership strategy for the years 2024 to 2028. And it's a periodic exercise. This time it coincided with almost with the period of the IMF program as well. So our program or our strategy is very much aligned to the IMF. As you have mentioned, the IMF does support certain policy actions, structural benchmarks, etc. While ADB, we align our support to provide budget support by assisting in related reforms that are needed. So they may not be reforms that are stipulated in the IMF program itself, but they're complementary. For example, in the power sector, we are supporting power sector reforms, the Electricity Act being a centerpiece, which involves the unbundling with the Ceylon Electricity Board, for example. Through that, we also want to see or help the government introduce and implement a more transparent tariff methodology, as well as to promote renewable energy invested by the private sector. So there are policy actions around there that enable to move the needle on these reform agendas. Another area is tourism, of course, and this is, of course, everyone recognizes that this is one of the engines of growth for Sri Lanka. And what we are advocating for is not just looking at the footfall, right? We want to see Sri Lanka's tourism industry grow in a way that it is sustainable and inclusive. So what do we mean by that? We are trying to see, of course, we want the tourism industry to be able to cater to various types of tourists and various segments, but we would like to see these higher value tourists coming in, and what they enjoy is more lower volume, exclusive experience, for example, which is not something that you can really get in many places in Sri Lanka, but the potential is there, right? So we would want to help the government introduce mechanisms or incentives so that these, for example, national parks will be better regulated, and that there will be more responsible, sustainable type of tourism. And one of the policy actions there is also the amalgamation of the four para-public entities, which we believe will help governments to streamline its decision making and marketing, promotion, etc., and ultimately help the private sector to thrive. And through these reforms, we hope that it's not just the big hotels that benefit from increase in tourism footfall, but it is the tour operators, these are the SMEs, the youth, the women, the community. And through tourism, if we can help conserve the environment, the biodiversity, cultural heritage at the same time, it would be a win-win situation. And of course, geographically, the offerings should be expanded to other areas, such as the north or the east, which has not been explored yet.
Sure. You, I think, covered a lot of the tourism-related policy reforms that are needed. What do you feel for some of the other sectors, maybe agri, on the energy space? I know SMEs, for example, is a key portfolio within ADB. What are some of the policy things that you're hoping to see, and maybe what could be even the role of the private sector in engaging on some of these things as well?
Okay, so yeah, in terms of a private sector, so I mean, going back to our country partnership strategy, we have three strategic pillars. One is strengthening the public financial management and governance, which is fundamentally needed. So basically, this includes the public sector reform as well, and strengthening governance across everything. And then the second one is strengthening private sector development for green growth. So we do place a very strong emphasis on a private sector-led economic recovery and growth. And the third one is more on the inclusion side and delivery of public services. So the private sector has a great role to play in various sectors. And how we feel now is that the only way for the country to grow is for Sri Lanka to adopt a more export-oriented or outward-looking policies. So we want to help, for example, the SMEs, like you mentioned, to be integrated into the global value chain. But how can they become more competitive and productive, right? So that is another type of technical assistance that we may want to provide. Currently, our angle is more access to finance. So by accessing financing, they will be able to expand their business and then become more to innovate and become more efficient, productive, etc. So SMEs is one, and of course that's all private sector. And other areas are, like you mentioned, energy. I talked already about the unbundling of the Ceylon Electricity Board, but it's really how to bring in more competition, ultimately. So this unbundling is not for the sake of unbundling, but because we want to promote more competition in the sector, more transparency, and then more investment by the private sector. And there's a huge renewable energy potential here. And by producing green energy, that might also encourage foreign direct investment to come if we can say that you can have, a very 100% renewable energy. You can use that as that producer's a marketing tagline as well, right? That these products are produced with 100% renewable energy. So these kind of decisions need to be made. And so that is what we are supporting. But of course, at the same time, we're looking at financial sector stability or even reforms in the water supply and sanitation sector as well. So we are in many areas, but what we do is we coordinate, of course, with the IMF and other development partners such as the World Bank, because there are so many reforms moving on in parallel, and we believe that we must coordinate our assistance.
Thanks, Chuck. I think it was engaging, and I think from the ADB side, you heard how they've been part of the recovery process, but how now they're set to be part of the growth process and some of the sectors that they're really involved with. Thank you, Taka, for your time, and to our
Thank
viewers,
you.
stay tuned for similar episodes like this. Thank you.